What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Always Compete Seahawks podcast. It's been a little while, but we are back here.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a entertaining day for us Seahawks fans.
that's one way to
17
word it. Yeah.
17-0 loss versus the Green Bay Packers. Um, I mean, there's really no way to sugarcoat this game. You can't say like even the excuse that like, oh, Russ's fingers hurt, it's okay. Like I think that makes me feel worse after watching today's game, and you
Yeah.
bringing that fact to me makes me legitimately feel worse. But I mean, okay, so listen, today's game was obviously like atrocious on several levels, and I think we should just start with kind of going through each position, grading, seeing how they performed, and let's start with the head of everything, Russell Wilson.
F.
F.
He just wasn't good.
It's when I say it's Russ's fault, I wouldn't say it's Russ's fault, mainly because the pass blocking was not there a lot today.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
He's coming off of what his doctor called the most serious injury he's ever seen to the throwing hand of a quarterback.
Yeah, that was
his doctor is a renowned LA hand doctor who has worked with several quarterbacks before.
I had this idea going into the game. I was really wondering because obviously like they've mentioned it 5 million times that he was so much faster, he recovered so much faster than they thought. They told him 6 to 8 weeks. He was back in like 3, and I kind of wondered. I'm like, did he return a little too quick? Like obviously I appreciate the toughness that he showed, but I think it was pretty clear that finger wasn't 100% today. He just really missed some throws. The one to Tyler Lockett that was 20 feet over his head. They were just the ones that he normally connects on. Just he wasn't clicking. But I think another thing that was really concerning for me was first of all, the play calling was bad in my opinion. Second of all, third of all,
yeah,
Russ was just kind of chucking up deep shots and like hoping something happened. And the Packers obviously watched film and they knew that we were going to try to do that. And they defended the deep ball really well. And Russ wasn't threw 2 interceptions that were probably not because of the finger. They were just bad reads. So
yeah.
that's
The
very
DK one to Kevin King especially sucks. The Tyler Lockett one is like, well, garbage time. Russ is just trying to get something to go. But the Kevin King one came where if you score right there, you take the lead.
Mm-hmm. You have all the momentum too. Yeah.
You have all the momentum. You're coming off a nice long drive where you got a couple third down conversions. Even if you can kick a field goal on that, it was like 3rd and 10. Even if you can kick a field goal on that, tie the game, maybe get Green Bay a little bit more nervous, make them feel like they're losing control a little bit, then that's obviously great. But, obviously that throw was ill-advised. It really wasn't there, and it was never there. So Russ, it was clear that he was rusty, to say the least. And I thought about it like at the end of this game. I'm like, I think we might have been better starting Geno Smith in this game. And that's not like throwing shade at Russ saying that, oh, Russ sucks now. I'm saying that Russ was probably not ready to play in this environment with what he's going through right now. And that's another thing that I was going to say about Russ, where to have your throwing hand hurt, especially your middle finger on your throwing hand, which is very important for gripping the ball, getting spin on the ball. It's very important. And if your middle finger isn't able to maybe, contract as much, or it can't get as good as a grip, the ball will fly less far and it will spin less. 2 things that hurt the throw. And when you're also in Green Bay and it's snowing, like it just didn't help. It really didn't help. And and that's why I think that like Geno Smith, he came off a really good game versus Jacksonville. He might have a little bit of confidence. Let's not rush your franchise quarterback, who is by far the most important player in franchise's history. Don't rush him back and just be like, yeah, Russ, your finger feels good. All right, you're out there versus Green Bay this week. Let's go. And I know it's probably Russ mostly who wanted to come back, but still, I mean, obviously, I don't think any Seahawks fans saw Russ playing like how he did today really happening, which is why I guess you could say it's an argument to start Geno Smith. But in hindsight, which is always like we always say, hindsight's 2020, it probably would have been more wise to start Geno Smith after the fact. But before the fact, though, to defend this, if Pete Carroll came out on Saturday and said, "Yeah, Russ is healthy, but we're starting Geno this week,"
Fire Pete.
So
yeah, exactly.
In his defense,
hindsight's always 20/20. So
hindsight's always 20/20.
But yeah, I think it would have
running backs. Okay. Oh no, go ahead. Finish your.
No, I was just gonna say like, it would have been probably a better idea to start the healthier quarterback, given hindsight. But I could see obviously why we didn't do it. It's Russell Wilson, but yeah, we can go on to the running backs.
Honestly, they played well.
They played well, but like
I wish they had more keys. Alex Collins had keys where it was like, oh man, 5, 6 yards, even 10 yards. Mm-hmm. You're like, damn, this is good. This is Pittsburgh. This is Pittsburgh all over again. Passing game sucks, but you know what? The run game is there. And then we stopped.
Yeah, I've never thought I would tell Pete to run the ball more, but
yeah, I never thought I would have to tell Pete to run the more.
Especially in snowy Green Bay.
If it's Super Bowl 49 on the 2-yard line with 30 seconds left, then
then we tell him to
I would
run
have
the ball
to tell Pete tell Pete to run the ball more. But like in a general playoff game in snowy Green Bay, I'd be like, I'd usually tell Pete like, hey man, like run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of smart.
When your quarterback's middle fingers are still jacked up. Yeah.
I mean, I guess the most positive thing is that because of Russ's middle finger, he couldn't flip off Pete from the sideline because of the awful play calling. So I guess that's the best thing. It protected us from an Earl Thomas 2.0.
Yeah.
It was protected us from an Earl Thomas 2.0. So I guess that's a positive. But like, no, in all hindsight, the running backs are there. Like Travis Homer, like has played fine.
He did drop that one on third down before the interception. That really pissed me off, though. I won't lie.
Yeah,
the drop he had right before the pick.
Yeah, Travis Homer has seemed to carve a spot in this offense, which is the Rashad Penny spot, ironically, which is like the guy who could come in and catch on third down. Like he's totally taking.
Did Rashad Penny did he get a snap this game?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
And speaking of snaps, we're going to talk about that when we get to the wide receivers, but not much to talk about when we get to.
I think running back's like a C. They didn't do anything crazy, but they made
C
some
plus.
Nice
they were never really given a chance, which is stupid. I feel like if we were to run the ball like we did versus Pittsburgh, like the amount of times as we did versus Pittsburgh, we'd be like backs B plus A right now because Alex Collins had 90 yards rushing on 24 carries and he had a touchdown in the red zone.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
Once again, hindsight's always 20/20 because if Russ comes out and he throws 3 touchdowns after the fact, we're like, yes, let Russ cook. Yeah. Let the man cook. You know, so
it just can't be one or the other with us. Sometimes it's like it feels like when we want to run the ball, it's Russ playing good and the running backs can't get nothing going. And then when we want to throw the ball, it's like the running backs are good. It's just we can't ever have.
It was very frustrating. But let's talk about receivers. DK Metcalf had a little
extracurricular
game.
Yeah.
Got ejected at the end of the game.
So I know I was wondering this, and I don't know what the ramifications are. I know in college, like if you get ejected in the second half of a game, you're out the first half of the next game. Is he out at all for the next game or no?
It depends. It usually depends. And pretty much what happens is that all ejection calls get sent to the league office, and they decide what happens. Like in New York, they get sent to the league offices where people review the cases. And they like suspension, fine. It's usually always a fine.
Yeah.
But it has to be like really egregious for it to be a suspension, like a fist.
Yeah. He didn't like sucker punch him. He just kind of grabbed his face mask.
He just grabbed his face mask, put his hand on his face. He'll probably get like a beefy fine, like $15,000 to $30,000.
Yeah.
But he won't get like suspended, I don't think, unless if the league office just pays DK.
So our season is Lockett. Yeah. Tyler Lockett was. I mean, we just
non-factor.
Non-factor. We just couldn't get anything going.
But I guess once again with the receivers, you could probably say that there's a lot of Russ throws that were like nowhere close.
Yeah.
Like do you remember the one where Tyler Lockett was wide open
on the crow route? Yeah. On the crow route, and it went over his head. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's plays where like Tyler Lockett could have had like 50 yards this game if Russ just hit some of his passes.
Yeah, I really think he could. I want to talk about one other thing, and I know you alluded to this. Where the hell was D. Eskridge all game?
He had 2 snaps. He had like 3 snaps.
Well, first of all,
we give him a reverse where they're blocking on the edge is god awful.
I know, and they literally just said,
do anything.
We're like, yeah, we got it. They just got him back of IR. Yeah, if you keep blocking like that for him, you're gonna put him back on IR. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what.
Like, I remember, like, I have Seahawks like analyst tweets on like Corbin Smith, Mike Dugar, Greg Bell, Bob Condota. So like they live tweet during the game because they're at the game. They live tweet. So whenever a play happens they usually tweet it out before I see it on my TV because like the TV is like
it's like 30 seconds behind. Yeah,
it's like 15 seconds behind or something like that.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing a tweet like D. Eskridge is finally in the game. I'm like, yes. And then it's like, and D. Eskridge is now out of the game. I'm like, oh God, what happened? And then they show the play. D. Eskridge just gets flipped on a play where no blocking on Rasul Douglas whatsoever. And D can't do anything.
No. One more guy before we talk about the atrocity that was our offensive line. I want to talk about one guy. This is probably the biggest positive of our offense. I think Gerald Everett had his coming out game. He was open. He made plays after the catch. His best game. He made plays after the catch. He had a lot of rack. I think that Gerald Everett, I think we only have him for this year, but I hope we can re-sign him. I think he's a good piece of our offense that we haven't been using yet. But if we can get our offense clicking, I would definitely have him in the fold. Would be something very nice. So I was happy to see Gerald Everett finally get it going, but that was just about all the nice things I have to say about the offense.
Wait, I have one more thing. I have one more good thing to say about the offense.
What's up?
That direct snap to Travis Homer was kind of cool.
One creative play call. Congratulations.
I'm not even gonna cap. Like that was like a pretty nice play call.
It was one creative play call. Good job.
Like the thing that we needed is Travis Homer to take the snap, finds DK wide open down the field for like
a he just is like touchdown. We just need Geno Smith at tailback, fake inside zone.
Yeah, snap. Geno Smith in Travis Homer's uniform.
Right.
And then send him out in Rashad Penny's uniform.
Right. So like, Rashad Penny's not going to do nothing, and then boom, touchdown.
You're like 60 yards. You're like, okay. Yeah. Look at Rashad Penny. Might have found a spot as a backup somewhere. But
another thing, really quick before we talk about offensive line, I'm going to talk about the play calling. It's awful. It's actually awful.
It's awful. And
if I will say, I think
I want to say that in week 1, the play calling was so right. It was so right.
What happened?
Like everything was working. Motions, short, quick passes, all this good stuff. And it's once again, I think it's just a case of the Seahawks offense totally breaking down once we get past that midseason mark. It happens a lot
at this point.
Recently,
at this point, I think you have to look and you have to say, what is the constant thread here? And it's Pete Carroll. It's Pete Carroll.
Yeah, because there's no way that every single offensive coordinator has been good calling plays early on in the year, and then as it continues to go, like they get worse and worse, and the play calling gets more and more simplistic.
I think it's a case of Pete taking too much control, because I really hope he wasn't, but I really doubt that that Shane Waldron was calling the plays here. I really do think it was Pete. And if that's the case,
the lack of the severe, like in week 1 with D. Eskridge in, we had like tight end screens, running back screens, wide receiver screens, pre-snap motion, like smart, well drawn up reverses and well drawn up play calls that like get guys wide open in a zone 10 yards down the field for a first down. We had all of that in week 1. And how many times did it happen today? I don't think we ran one screen.
I saw one good play call other than the Travis Homer direct snap was the Tyler Lockett motion, the jet sweep fake, the Alex Collins, because it froze the DN. I'm like, all right, let's see more of that. And then it just never happened the rest of the game. We just never ran it.
And once again, you wonder how this all ties back to D. Eskridge, because in week 1 with D. Eskridge, the play calling had a lot of motion, had a lot of creative stuff, and the offense had its best game.
Yeah,
by far its best game. Pass blocking, amazing. Run game, really sturdy and a good way to balance out the attack. Russ had 4 touchdowns and a couple really nice deep throws to Tyler Lockett and DK. Like everything was fluent, and now it's like where has that gone? Where is it? Like where? It feels like where did it go? Memory. It's not here anymore, and I don't like week 1 feels so long ago. It really does.
It feels like a different team.
Ago. It feels like a different season.
Yeah, different team, different season. Yeah, it's really just a shame. And I wonder, let's be honest here, we're not going to make the playoffs this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're not. And that mostly comes down to we have to beat the Rams. To make the playoffs, realistically, have
We
to,
have to
win out or come close to winning out. That would require beating the Cardinals twice, beating the Rams, beating the 49ers, beating. I think there's one more tough team in there that's slipping my mind.
The Bears, Lions, Texans, Washington, Rams, Cardinals twice, Niners. I think that's the rest of our games.
Is it? Yeah, it might be. But the Cardinals,
Rams, Niners.
But the Cardinals twice and the Rams once should be disqualifying enough to the idea that we're going to win out, or at least like lose one game to win out. So let's move on to the offensive line.
Oh my God.
I love Gabe Jackson. I really do. Gabe Jackson has been a fantastic move that has worked out really well. Like, it has worked out really, really well. He's had like a 90 PFF grade for a lot of the season. He's been good in the run game. He's been pretty solid in the pass game, and he's pretty much been exactly what we were advertised, which is like a guy who's really sturdy, really big, can like totally stand up any defensive tackles, any blitzers. Good Gabe Jackson. Gabe Jackson gets a sticker. He gets a good job sticker.
We need him on the team in 2022. We need him. He's good.
He is. He's on we signed him to an extension.
Yeah.
We reworked his entire deal. I think he's on the team until 23, actually.
That's perfect. That's what I was saying. Like, he's one of the guys. I'm going to talk about some of these guys in the offensive line.
He might be on the team till 24, actually. I'm not sure, but
I'm saying he's one of the guys that I would love to have on my offensive line next season. A guy I wouldn't like to have on my offensive line next season, unfortunately, is Dwayne Brown. We in the offseason were talking about, Dwayne Brown extension. We were like pounding the table. We're like, John, get this done. We want to extend Dwayne Brown, blah, blah. He's been bad this year. He's been bad. I don't know if it's old age. I don't know what it is. He is bad. He is getting bullied every single week. And it's to the point of where it's like, he just had a bad game. Oh, it's a couple bad games. Oh, it's 3. He's had like probably 6 or 7 bad games this year.
And he got hurt. Yeah.
I just think that age is really catching up with him, and we need a new left tackle for next season. We really do.
Yep. One positive is that this offseason we are looking at having a lot of money.
Yes.
Which is good. We're looking at having a ton of money.
Yes.
Like a boatload of cash. Like, I think we'll have like the 8th most money in the NFL. Of
good.
Like $50 million.
And we should have a high second-round pick. Probably a top 11 or 12 second-round pick.
But knowing John, they'll probably trade it back to like the 3rd round and be like, but we got a 4th-round pick in the deal.
We got a safety. You guys have 2 Pro Bowl safeties. Yeah, but we got another one. Okay? Yeah.
And now we're gonna have 3.
We're gonna run 4 safety sets. We're gonna have Jamal, Quandre, Marquise, and there's the new dude with.
And then Ryan Neal too. Throwing Ryan Neal. Ryan Neal play nickel or somewhere. Yeah.
5 safeties. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 safety lineup, just overpowered.
They're like Seattle runs a 1-6. Where are the other 5 players? Oh, they're all at safety.
1-6. They have like one defensive lineman, like a nose tackle, like out, like Puda Ford, just fighting for his life on the offensive line. Like, it's like as soon as the ball he lines up with the center, pretend that my mic is the center, like, and like every player just like convulges on the center and just entraps Puda Ford.
Bro, it's inside zone getting 30 yards minimum with that dude. That's the defense Pete wants to go against. He can run his stupid ass inside zone on 3rd and 20 and get a first down every time.
Yeah. I mean, listen.
Honestly, bro, the Rams could probably run that 1-6 shit. Just put Aaron Donald, just insta block shit everybody.
Backfield. Oh man. All right. Listen. Damian Lewis is going through growing pains. It's okay.
Yeah, he's young. And he's
like 23 years old, and he still played well in a lot of games this year.
He's young, and he got penalized for that.
Please, nobody stress about Damian Lewis.
Yeah, he'll be fine. The holding he had, I've never seen an offensive lineman get bull rushed and then get called for a holding. That was one of the weirdest.
And he didn't even hold.
He was like falling backwards, and they're like
his hands were out here as he's falling backwards.
Yeah. They're like, as a whole, we can't let you guys score. It was the worst.
Imagine for us to throw that pick and that holding call isn't called. It might have been 10-10, and then that late Packers touchdown would have mattered a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Like a whole lot more.
Yeah. They were just stat padding. I'm pretty sure I went up against AJ Dillon in fantasy this week, so it was just like a double homicide.
Double whammy.
Yeah, double whammy. But no, I think he's fine. I think we definitely need a new center. Do you remember?
Fine.
Really quick, Sam. Who was the guy when we were doing our draft? When we were doing our mock draft, who was the guy that we said, "Hey, if this guy's available in the second round, we should get him"? Do you remember who that guy was?
If I remember correctly, it was a man from Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big boy, and he's currently the highest rated center according to Pro Football.
Oh, he's the highest grade center in the league. Was that Creed Humphrey that we're talking about? Yeah.
He was on the board.
Didn't both of us say, "Hey, guys, we need a center. We need a center."
Me and Mike were on the phone.
Yeah.
Me and Mike were on the phone. We're like, "Oh my God, Creed's here." We had a pre-draft meeting with him. It's time. And I'm like, "It's D. Eskridge from Western Michigan." I'm on the phone. Me and Mike, I'm like, Mike was out and he wasn't watching the draft. So he called me. He was like, "Yo, call me when the Seahawks are on the clock." I'm like, "Oh my God, Mike, you won't believe Creed is on the board. He's on the board."
We're celebrating. We're popping a champagne. We're like, "Creed is a Seahawk."
Creed. Oh,
D. Eskridge? And he said D. Eskridge. And I literally said, "Who?" And then my next question was, "You said Creed's still on the board, right?" "Yeah." Oh my God. And then of course Creed is
that was I mean, once again, no hate to D. Eskridge, but that's more of a person. Like, I like D. Eskridge as a player. I think he'll eventually work out if he can get more than 3 snaps in a goddamn game.
Yeah, that'd be great.
My point is my point is that, like, I would say that D. Eskridge is a pretty fine player and he'll fit well in our offense whenever he's healthy. And as a matter of fact, our offense has shown to be very good when he's in there and we can utilize his skills.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Creed Humphrey, man. Creed Humphrey.
I really want a Creed Humphrey.
Yeah.
I really want a Creed Humphrey.
Once again, we're not going to stress over it. And Brandon Shell, like, I don't even know what to think about Brandon Shell. Like, he's fine.
He's like whatever. He's like, I don't know if you guys know, like baseball. There's a stat called WAR. It's like wins above replacement, basically.
Yeah, WAR.
It means like how good you are. He's like a 0 WAR. Like, he's like average.
For those baseball heads, Mike Trout has like a 10 every year. Like, it's like ridiculous. Like, he's like.
And then like an ass player would have like a negative like 4 or whatever, like -3, -4. Brandon Shell's like 0. He's like average.
0.1. He's like 0.2. It's like, hey, he's a positive WAR player.
Barely. Yeah,
okay.
Barely.
Now we're going to be able to get a little bit positive here, and we could kind of talk about the defense, which had some moments that were good.
It did.
I still love Puna Ford. He's my pride and joy. He's the reason I breathe. He's the reason I wake up every morning.
Right.
Puna Ford is great. I love him. The linebackers. Bobby had a rough time tackling AJ Dillon, I will say. I mean, I think anybody would have a rough time tackling AJ Dillon.
I think the Packers, like 2 years ago, like before they drafted AJ Dillon, they're like, "Who's the best running back in the NFL?" And they're like, "Okay, Derrick Henry." They're like, "Can we clone him? Can we clone Derrick Henry?"
He's way closer to Marshawn Lynch than Derrick Henry.
You think so? I think
he's got like the big legs, and he's got like he's kind of short.
I don't think he's.
Derrick Henry is like a dominator. Marshawn Lynch was just like a ball of power, and I think AJ Dillon is pretty good.
Yeah, he's good, man. He's good. Jordan Brooks.
If you've ever seen Rocky, Rocky 4, Derrick Henry is like Ivan Drago, like just like huge. Like, how do you beat this guy?
Yeah,
how do you beat this guy? You know, he's like big, and nobody really, like, everybody's afraid of him. Like, he's just menacing to the eye. That's Derrick Henry. AJ Dillon is literally like Marshawn Lynch. He's very similar. And
yeah, I can see that.
Bobby Wagner
didn't have a good game.
Yeah, tough five. But on a positive, Bobby Wagner became the second ever player to have their first 10 seasons each have 100 tackles.
Woo!
The first player being Zach Thomas, for those Dolphins fans who are watching this podcast.
Also, number 54. I think 54 is just the most legendary number for linebackers.
Next up, Fred Warner is going to come up, and he's going to do it. And then,
Brian Urlacher wore 54 as well. Jordan Brooks, I will say, he did have some good coverage snaps. He had some good moments.
And let me tell you, now we can get to the secondary, which I will be kind of particularly positive about. I love Trey Brown. I love him.
Okay.
I love him. I love him. And it's mainly because Trey Brown is the future of the cornerback room.
Oh yeah.
He is. And he's going to get better once he begins to realize the coverage. Remember, he came off the PUP list in like week 5.
Mm-hmm.
And
he barely played.
And he barely played. And then all of a sudden he's a starter in less than 3 weeks.
I want to say another thing. I'm not
like, who's Sidney Jones, right?
I'm not the type of guy who's like, hey, we could run the Seahawks better than John Schneider. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is, when they took Trey Brown, we were happy about it. We talked about it in a mock draft stuff. We were happy that Trey Brown got taken. We needed corners. We said, we feel like this is the type of guy. Every year, the Seahawks have one of these guys where it's like, it's just a stud in a late round. We just get one of those guys. We're like, this is Trey Brown. Yeah, it's Trey Brown.
Yeah, every year. It's every year.
Then he got hurt.
And it's a late round pick has to qualify as like a 4th or later. Yeah, and it happens every year. Last year, I think we had Alton Robinson. I would count Alton Robinson as a late round stud. I really would. I would count Alton Robinson as a late round stud. And we also had like guys like Freddie Swain who are contributors. And every year, but
Michael Dixon.
There's like especially good like instances of like Chris Carson, David Moore, Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Byron Maxwell. Like these are guys who are like legit
studs.
Like guys who played long NFL careers or will play long NFL careers.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm confident that Chris Carson, as long as he can stay somewhat healthy, will probably be like a 7-8 year running back, which is pretty long for running back, all things considered.
Yeah.
David Moore might be like a journeyman, but that's fine. Michael Dixon will hopefully be a Seahawk until the sun dies. And
I really hope so too. But Trey Brown,
he's the guy.
A stud. And
it's him.
We can't do this video without smiling about Jamal Adams.
Jamal Adams had a fantastic game.
Monster. He was a monster. First of all, there were so many plays that he just destroyed because he got in the backfield so fast. Number one.
I think he had like 13 tackles. He had a lot of really good blitzes and
a damn interception, baby.
Interception.
Are you kidding me?
Interception.
Nobody.
Finally.
Listen, I watch Aaron Rodgers literally all the time. He lives rent-free in my head, I'm sad to admit. Aaron Rodgers does not throw interceptions in the red zone or in the end zone. I guess those are kind of the same thing. He does not throw interceptions. We can also say that
about Russ.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't do that. And when he threw that ball up, I went, oh no. And then I see Jamal just like reach his hands up, snag that shit, intercept it. I went, oh, I had to change my pants afterwards, dude. I got a little excited.
Yeah, that was dope.
That was so dope. And he's been getting so much better in coverage. I'm so happy.
Yeah. So as we're kind of clearing up with this, there are currently live Seahawks. I'm on Twitter, kind of looking at the tweets, and there are live post-game press conferences with players and coaches, especially one particular coach. You may have heard of him. His name is Pete Carroll. And Cone. Shout out to Cone. He actually just tweeted at us saying, "Can't wait for the podcast." Nice. Shout out to Cone. So listen. Here's some updates from Pete Carroll and DK Metcalf, who are the two people who have spoken so far. Pete Carroll made a comment on Dwayne Brown. He said he was questionable to return. Turns out he has a strained groin and suffered an injury after stepping on an opponent's foot.
Nice.
Ryan Neal being evaluated for a concussion.
Awesome.
Let's go to Russell Wilson's finger. Pete Carroll says that the Seahawks did not do any under center because of Russell Wilson's finger.
Speaking of under center, really quick, the fumble that Aaron Rodgers, the snap that
that was Gerald Taylor.
That was Gerald Taylor. He got that.
And Packers fans were arguing he had 2 hands on the ball, so therefore, and then people started showing pictures of the Fail Mary, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Golden Tate had 2 hands on the ball." And at least us Seahawks fans could like reasonably say that Golden Tate, there's no way Golden Tate, no way in hell Golden Tate caught that football.
Yeah.
But
we got lucky on that one. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. But hang on. I think this is the most interesting quote that we heard from anybody so far. And DK Metcalf had a couple quotes. First off, he said, DK Metcalf didn't have much to say after the loss. This is from Corbin Smith. But he said, quote, "We have to get the ball to our playmakers," which is interesting considering that he's not the quarterback saying that. But second off, this is the most interesting thing. When somebody asked about why DK Metcalf was ejected and was in that fight at the end of the game, he simply said he's tired of losing.
Oh, no. Very happy he's not a free agent this offseason. Oh, no. We need to get that extension done ASAP, dude. Get him signed and sealed and delivered. That's
that's questionable. But no comment.
Yeah, before this year, we were like, 12-5 minimum. And then this season, we're like, please win more than 5 games, please.
Yeah, please. Like, can we maybe? No. We're gonna win like 7-8 games. Guaranteed.
This is what's gonna happen. Guarantee it. End of the year, we play in like the next like 6 or 7 weeks. We play Detroit, Chicago, Washington, and Houston. We're gonna win all 4 of those games. We're gonna be like, playoffs? No.
And then we're gonna lose to Arizona.
Yeah, we're gonna lose to Arizona.
Here's what it is. I mean, listen to our schedule. I mean, this is a schedule that realistically could see us ending the season on a very high note, which is at least positive. Play Cardinals next week at home, which I will not automatically say is a loss because I do have a feeling. That's all I'm gonna say. I have a feeling that Russ is gonna want to come back like a bat out of hell in front of the home fans.
Yeah.
And just go crazy. So that's all I'm going to say. I have a feeling, and Kyler Murray has missed the last couple of weeks. So has D-Hop. So has a couple other people. So you never know. And then we play Washington, which by all means should be a win. No ifs, ands, or buts.
They beat the Bucs this year. They beat the Bucs this week. I mean,
but still.
If Taylor Heineke only plays good against Tom Brady, though. Like, if he starts dotting our shit up, then sell the franchise. Sell the franchise.
Well, I mean, by the way, a lot of people point out that like things have gotten noticeably worse in the personnel room ever since Paul Allen passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue that that's a fair point to make.
I'd say so too. I'm going to say it's a very interesting situation there, obviously.
I mean, and no hate to Jody, but Jody's obviously much more of a hands-off owner, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but with Paul Allen kind of like being on Pete and John's shoulder, like, hey, you have to do good things. You know, it's a little different. But okay, so then we play 49ers at home, which once again should be a win. The 49ers are just about as not good as us.
Yeah, except we have a quarterback who's supposedly good with.
And then we play at Texans, which I swear to God, if we lose that game, that's all I gotta say. Then we play at Rams, which will probably be a loss in all reality. Then Bears come to us, so do the Lions. And then we finish the season.
I've mentioned this before, but I'm gonna get killed during that game because that's the day after Christmas. That's December 26th. All my family will be in town, and I will be rooting for the Seahawks.
Yeah. So listen.
Might not make it.
Seahawks are 3-6 right now. If they win out, they'll be what, 11-6?
There's still hope.
If they win out, they'll be 11-6. Let's say they lose one game to the Cardinals and one game to the Rams. Then they will be 9-8. Would it be a total failure of a season? I would argue no.
If we can sneak in the playoffs at 9-8,
9-8 could be a playoff record.
The Bears made it at 8-8 last year, and Washington made it at 7-9 last year. So,
well, I mean, to be fair, Washington won their division, but
true.
I mean,
Bears snuck in at 8-8 with the.
Let's say that we steal one versus LA. Also, let's say that we split the season with LA.
Yeah,
we win in the next okay, so 7 of 8. We'd be 10-7. That's maybe the most ideal that is potentially realistic because besides all these division games like Cardinals and Rams, all these games should be wins, and that's kind of just a fact. But I mean, today I realized that I'm watching Red Zone, which is a gift from God.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, like I'm watching all these teams get like highlight plays, like 50-yard touchdown. Like Darius Slay had like a 70-yard fumble return touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it, and I'm like, the Seahawks don't do that anymore. And it kind of made me sad for a second.
They don't.
Like watching a Seahawks game, like there's like watching a Seahawks game, I feel like anymore, there's fewer and fewer plays every week that make me go like, oh yeah, that's it right there. Like something like that even.
Yeah.
It's just like, like there's games where like, we don't all of our touchdown drives are like 10 play 80-yard drives, which I mean are fine, but
the best plays we get now. The best plays we get now are just, and we haven't really. Again, I think it's been a decline ever since like week 5 or 6 of last year. But it was like, DK bomb or a Tyler Lockett bomb. We've seen it a couple times this year, but it's just they're just dwindling. We don't get really big runs. We don't get runs more than like 20 yards. Defense don't really score anymore. They barely even cause turnovers. Like, I don't know. And we're really missing that big play aspect. So,
yeah,
kind of sad to see.
Yeah, but we're gonna kind of end it off on a positive. Chris Carson will likely come back next week, which will obviously help the offense and will hopefully motivate Pete to run the ball more. Which I can't believe I'm saying that, but
or throw the ball off the
motivate.
Well, I think just go with the flow of the game. Like we were running the ball well. Keep it up.
Mm-hmm.
If they
give us the run, take the run. If they give us the pass, take the pass.
And also, did you ever notice how every single PKL run is just inside zone? It's just inside zone. Like, did we run outside the tackles once?
I don't know.
Oh man, this frustrates.
We're gonna wrap it up on a positive note. Hopefully, things are looking up. We have a easy stretch of games coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
Stay tuned. Maybe God will work his magic, but we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
Peace.